Welcome! As a creator, you've got two options when choosing your computer, Mac or PC. But when you look at the PC options, it looks complicated. How do I know that these are the right parts? There's so many out there. You're probably thinking that you're gonna end up paying more and getting the wrong parts, and who knows if it's gonna work. Anyway, well, this video is for you, because in this video, I'm gonna show you why you should build a best bang for buck creator PC instead of a Mac, because it is cheaper, more serviceable, upgradable, has a massive upgrade path, and you can configure it to look whatever you want. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at the ultimate best bang for buck creator PC guide for $750. Wow. If you want some upgrade options, there will be some upgrade options for you as well, if you can stretch your budget all the way up to $1,300. I'm excited. Let's go. This part of the video is brought to you by Asus ProArt PX13, the ultimate 2-in-1 creator laptop with AMD Ryzen 9 AI CPU and NVIDIA RTX 4070 GPU. The PX13 is one of the most compact and powerful 13-inch laptops out there. Create smarter and faster from anywhere with AI features and military-grade toughness. Go check out our full overview in the video description below. Two very important things before we get started. Number one, every single thing that I'm talking about in this video are linked in the video description below, so you can make sure that you buy the right thing, because sometimes with PC parts, it looks the same, but actually you're buying the wrong thing and accidentally it's not compatible. So everything that's linked below are compatible with each other, as well as the upgrade options. I've spent a lot of time making sure that you've got upgrades and how you can upgrade and kind of configure it for yourself. These are affiliate links, so I will get a commission at no extra cost to you, but it helps the content on the channel. So thank you very much if you use those links. And secondly, if you enjoy these videos, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll jump right in. So the first bit that we're going to be looking at is $750 budget. So what can we get for this? In 2025, oh my goodness, you're getting amazing parts. And maybe you're watching this a couple of months later. Most likely these prices are even cheaper, so I highly recommend checking them out in the video description below. Even if one part aren't cheaper, check out all of the listings, because the total should be cheaper, because that's usually how it works. So in terms of motherboard, so the bits that puts all of our parts together, we're going to go with Gigabyte B760M DSH AX. So this gives us Wi-Fi as well. Now, it is pretty standard motherboard. We've got Wi-Fi, we've got DDR5, we've got the LGA1700 socket. So we've got quite a lot of upgrades. It's an Intel platform. You've got USB-C in the back, not in the front, unfortunately. But for that price, it's kind of okay. Now, if you can stretch your budget, the motherboard is one of the first things I would highly recommend you to upgrade. So wait till for that when we get to the upgrade path. Next off, we're gonna go with RAM, and we're gonna go 32 gigabytes of DDR5. Now, if you can, I always recommend you to get 64 gigabytes if you can, but understand that it can be a little bit expensive, because as you can see, we're literally paying double the price here for 64 gigabytes. For $70 to get 32 gigabytes of DDR5, 5600 megahertz, it's absolutely amazing price. Now you might be wondering, what actual platform or CPU you're gonna pair up with this? Because this is 5600 megahertz. We're gonna pair this with 12700KF. And you might be thinking, you big hypocrite, you've been telling us not to buy the F variants of CPUs. Yes, I have, and I've got a reason for that. If you can, I do still recommend to get the non-F variant, so you might have to pay $10 extra to get the iGPU inside the CPU as well, which gives you a little bit more flexibility for future upgrades and so on. But in this particular PC build, we don't need the iGPU to get Intel QuickSync. You'll get that in a minute. But a 12700KF, an 8-core CPU, that's P cores, plus 4 E cores, that's 12 cores. For this price, it shouldn't be possible. It's ridiculous. It makes me jealous. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna blow anything away at this price point, $750. It's ridiculous. Now, that CPU does need cooling, and I highly recommend checking out this. This is a pretty good cooler that we tested out, but it might be on the borderline of just about managing this CPU. It is only $18, and honestly, we're trying to save every single dollar for that $750. Pack as much power in it as possible. I think this could do the job in 90% of the time, but if it's very hot environment, it might start to struggle a little bit. So if that is your case, look for the upgrade option for the cooling, because it might be struggling on the borderline. But we tested it on the 12900K or 13900K and it did pretty good. It's not one of the worst, but for $18, you're really not gonna get anything better. Now we need storage for the operating system and programs. For that, we're gonna go for 1 terabyte MP3 from Team Group. It's NVMe drive though still, so we're not gonna go with SATA. It's PCIe Gen 3 X4, but for $47, it's pretty good. I'm gonna leave a few options for the SSDs in the description below there, or under or. So check out the pricing for all of them, because some of them the SSD pricing always changes a lot. So links in the description below will be the best guide for you. There is a mistake over here, connectivity technology, it's not SATA, because otherwise it would look different and it wouldn't be NVMe. Can't get SATA and 18 that speeds there. We want the random read and write speed, so that's what we're gonna go for there. The 1 terabyte is enough to run your programs and even have some of the projects on there. But if you can, look for a secondary drive as well. You can just pop it into your motherboard if you needed to. It's absolutely fine. Next off, our GPU. And we're gonna go with Arc A750 from Sparkle. Because this is an Intel GPU, dedicated GPU, this actually gives us Intel QuickSync for our system as well. So it's not really necessary to have the iGPU on the CPU as well. In certain aspects, you could get a little bit of a combined thing of iGPU and DGPU, but honestly, it's more of a theory thing, because I haven't seen this really in practice to get the little iGPU and big GPU working together in terms of media engines. These media engines will give you Intel QuickSync, so your smooth timeline editing performance is going to be very, very good. Oh, and didn't mention that this part that we're doing right now is mainly for video editing. We're going to look at 3D and photo as well, because I would slightly change some parts if you're doing non-video editing. So this is absolutely amazing for pretty much anything. And for $200, you're not really going to get better bang for buck for video editing. This is a fantastic card, because we do need that Intel QuickSync. If you're doing a lot of 3D and you're looking for a 3D kind of PC, then don't go with Intel card, don't go with AMD card. Nvidia is your option, and I highly recommend going with the RTX 3060, because you get 12 gigabytes of VRAM. It's going to be really good for 3D ray tracing, Nvidia CUDA cores. It is just so much better. Now, it is an extra $100, so in that budget it's quite a lot more. But if you're doing 3D, Blender, whatever you're doing in any of the 3D softwares, Nvidia card is the one to go. You just don't have any other options if you actually want good performance. But for video editing, it's not necessarily necessary, because the Arc A750 often outperforms that at a lower price point. Now we need a power supply to power it all, and it is this Thermaltake Smart BX1. 650 watts is enough to power this. It's not the best. I would highly recommend upgrading this, but at $750, we are really maxing our budget to get the best performance for this. And for $61, you're not gonna get much better than that. Now for the PC case, we're gonna go with Zalman S2. And here really just feel free to go with whatever you want, because this is the bit that kind of makes your PC look the most different. I think this looks quite minimal, quite nice looking, and it's got 330mm fans already installed, which helps us with the airflow and cooling inside there, and I think that's going to be a massive thing in there. For $58, it's very hard to get a better one. The total of this here, $756.47 at the time of me making this video. That is so much better than the Mac Mini if you're thinking about getting one. The Mac Mini will offer you only 250 gigabytes of storage, 16 gigabytes of RAM. We've got so much better option here. It's just a great time to build a PC. And if you're a video editor or want to do some content creation, video editing, whether in Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve, or CapCut, or any of the other programs, this is a fantastic option here for $750. You have a huge upgrade path to go all the way to i9 14900K if you wanted to. It's insane. But now let's talk about the upgrades of all of this build. Now, for the first time, even at the lower end, first part of the best bang for buck create a PC build, you're able to upgrade everything. So everything is intercompatible. So if you want to do the motherboard and not the RAM, anything. So if you do motherboard, RAM, CPU, you just decide what you would like to upgrade. Motherboard that I mentioned is one of the best upgrades to do at first. This is another $73, but this will get you Gigabyte Z790 Aorus Elite AX. A lot better motherboard for any any of the future upgrades. And if you go with this motherboard, most likely you're not going to need to upgrade even if you go with all the way to 14900K, unless you need some specific features for, I don't know, 10 gigabit Ethernet or something like that. But even at that point, just you can add a card in. But this is a fantastic motherboard for that price point. Everything you need and probably a little bit more. Front panel USB-C, back panel USB-C, lots of M.2 storage for all of this. Very good option for $73 extra spent. For the CPU upgrade, we're going to go from 12700KF to 13700KF. Now this again doesn't have an iGPU, but if you want to pay extra $10, $15, something like that, you can get the iGPU, but we're trying to save every dollar possible right now for this to get under the 1300 budget. This is insane CPU, 8 cores, P cores and 8 E cores, 16 cores altogether, 24 threads. Honestly, amazing CPU. That's going to cost extra $98 for now to upgrade the CPU, and you're going to get quite a lot of performance. It has better memory support, so probably can run it faster and so on. This cooling, you actually do need a cooler option here to actually get this cooled properly, because that CPU will run a little bit more hotter. But with this cooler, you're actually also going to get a bracket, a CPU bracket. They'll keep it from bending, because if you know the issues from, you know, Intel's LGA 1700 CPUs, they might bend over time over the heat, but this prevents that, which is kind of one that already costs extra $15, but that comes with the cooler, which is fantastic. This is 280 millimeters that will fit into our new case or into your old case as well. It's a really good cooler from Arctic, very quiet, everything is fantastic. We're going to use the same OS drive, but for now the project drive, so we're going to add secondary M.2, or you just add secondary one to the first one. This is extra $69. This Kadia Z440 is a very special drive because it's got a DRAM and it's got a very high terabyte written spec. You can fill this drive pretty much every single day for the next 5 years. It's still gonna be within the spec of the manufacturer's warranty spec, so it's got insane terabyte written spec. So if you put a lot of large files on it and write on it, this SSD will last you a long time, and it's very affordable. For RAM, we're using 64 gigabytes of Crucial Pro RAM. It's nice and black, fits very nice in there. No RGB Gaga, don't need that. $134. It is an extra $63, so we're kind of doubling the price, kind of from 32 to 64. But that 64 gigabytes gives you a lot more flexibility, and as a creator, this is a little bit more breathing room to do multitasking. But even in Premiere Pro and DaVinci Resolve, you really, 32 gigabytes will start to be the bottleneck in there. This is an awesome option for that. For GPU, we're upgrading from A750 to A770. This is a really good option for $300. If Intel Arc B580 is at $250, then just go with that one, because sometimes that card is even better than this Sparkle A770. So then go with this one. But right now, at the point of me making the video, the Arc B580 is more expensive than this one, so that's why I'm not recommending that one. But I'm going to leave it linked in the description below as well. If you find it at the good price point, recommend that one, because you're probably going to get even more bang for your buck. But this card is often on a sale, so if there's any sales going on, check it out. Very good card. Now we get twice the VRAM, not 8 gigabytes, but 16 gigabytes. And again, Intel QuickSync, that's why we don't need the K variant of the CPU. We can go with KF, it's absolutely fine. We're gonna upgrade our power supply to 850 watts. Even if you don't upgrade the rest of the systems, go in with the upgrade even on the lower end of the budget. The extra $30 or $25, something like that, $30 will be a very good option, because this NMX offers you 80 plus gold power efficiency, which goes up from bronze. That's a lot better. Plus it is PCIe 5.0 compliant, meaning we're going to get the PCIe 5.0 cable. So later on, if you want to upgrade to RTX 5070 Ti, for example, or something like that, you can just plug it in and it just works. You don't need to upgrade your power supply, and 850 watts for most cases will be fine. Now the PC case, we're going to be upgrading also the Fractal Design Focus 2. Now this is roughly around $52 there as well. I can see some of these options. I don't know if I go here, it actually changes. I don't know why it is 96, but it's roughly around 96 or $88 or something like that, what I'm seeing around. This is a really nice minimalistic case. Again, a little bit more expensive, but Fractals, they just look really, really nice. It's got some fans already pre-installed, 140 millimeter fans, very good airflow, keeps everything cool down and fits our cooling. I think this is a fantastic PC case for that price. We're also going to get an extra fan for the back of the PC case. If you didn't see the back didn't have a fan. So this is a Arctic P12 Max. For $10, you're really not going to get a better fan. The best bang for buck fan. And the total for the upgrades, if you go with all of the upgrades, $1,296. Just under $1,300. And that PC is absolutely ridiculous. Now, this is serious competition for the Mac Mini M4 Pro, which costs roughly around the same, but has no upgradability. And this guy here offers quite a few improvements over the Mac Mini. So remember, links in the description below with all parts so you can interchange and decide what you want to do with it. This works for really like video editing and 3D. Now, if you're a photographer, I'd kind of go slightly on a different route and optimize this even more to your workflow. If you're really doing no video editing, even if you're doing, it's going to be completely fine. But photo editing, I would go slightly differently just because for Photoshop and Lightroom Classic, I think AMD Ryzen is a little bit of a better option and maybe offers even better upgradability for you. We're kind of now basing this on the around 1300 budget. If your budget is still like 750, just go with the previous like video editing build. It will be fine for photo editing. It'll do great, absolutely fantastic. I would go with the same extra drive, Team Group T-Force Cardia Zero Z440. For RAM, we're going to use the same 64 gigabytes of RAM, but for GPU, we're actually going to be using the Arc B570. This is kind of like an interesting middle ground because you don't really need massive, VRAM. 10 gigabytes is going to be fine. You don't need the A770, and for $230, you can save a little bit more money. And if you're doing video editing, this gives you still the Intel QuickSync, which is obviously a win-win for you. Same PSU, the same case still, the same extra fan for the case, but for the motherboard, instead of Intel, we're going to be using ASRock X870 Pro RS. This is $200 and will give you everything you really need. You get two USB 4 ports in the back, so if you have any fast USB-C drives or whatever you need to connect with it, this is an awesome option for you. In terms of the CPU, we're going to be going with the 7900X. So this is $365, 12-core CPU. It's a fantastic CPU, one of the fastest CPUs you can get for Adobe Photoshop, for Lightroom Classic, because of the 12 cores. When you're doing exports, this can really accelerate that as well. Now, if you do want to save a little bit, you can go with the Ryzen 7, which I'll leave in the description below as well, or the Ryzen 5 to go even cheaper. But I think this is like a really nice middle ground because it's not the very top end and it's quite a bit better than the 6 and 8 core ones. Just a lot more cores for photographers. This is fantastic. To cool that, for $35, look at this Thermalride Peerless Assassin. This is a fantastic cooler. For that amount, it will be completely fine. This was $1,270.85, which is under the $1,300. And I'm gonna leave a few upgrades for the photographers as well. If you wanna upgrade and get a little bit more out of your system, everything again is compatible with everything. So all the upgrades that you wanna go for, you can go with a better case and then a better motherboard or something like that. Just go check them out. For the upgrade, I'm actually using the Asus ProArt X870E motherboard, which is quite expensive, but if you're already using the Creative Cloud, you can get 3 months for free, and that makes it a little bit more affordable than some of the high-end gaming motherboards there, but you still get 10 gigabit Ethernet and fast ports and so on if you need a lot of them. So everything linked in the description below. If you don't know how to build it, I've got a build guide on the channel. If you don't know what different parts are or how this is done, everything's linked in the description below. And if there's any other questions that you need me answering, I always get back to my Minnect messages within 24 hours, which is also linked in the description below, so you can go and check it out. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. Hopefully you get something built. Let me know what you're building in the comment section below. Bye bye.